Hello, myself Sulun Ramakrishna. Basically, I is topic that is City Krishna. Basically, I is talking about this file which is not given name. So here basically one of the person that let me check basically is properly working on basically, and then basically they say that yeah something basically problem is there basically he is walking, but after some time basically he is not walking. He is basically walking very slowly. Sometime basically he is running. Then basically after that basically he is not running properly. Why? Because his leg has damaged by the HIV/AIDS, HIV/AIDS and disease. Then basically they say that basically yes, basically his leg and each and every things basically has damage. Now basically they will check basically his brain basically whether his brain is properly working or not basically. Because everything basically they are damaged. Na? Indian girls has damaged everything basically, and Indian girls say that basically we have sorry. Indian Supreme Court and High Court basically say that basically we have done damage to his, we have basically finished each and every body parts, and this is basically lesson, and we have spended more than 1,000 5,000 crore basically in this basically we have used sports group also basically to do the advertising. See basically see like this everything basically created. So one of the person told that we have basically damaged his each and every body parts, and this is the proof that basically see basically. And the group basically who say that basically yes basically is supposed to get the punishment, they basically do jashan basically. Jashan means party basically. In party basically we will see there is one song basically that also we are going, but here basically the internet is not working, so we can't see that song basically. So in next video next video basically we will see that song also basically, which is that party song basically they do the party. So here basically thing is one of the person told that this is the stuff like this is the stuff basically. So must be, so the physical location basically, so there should be special city basically which gives the antibiotic of HIV/AIDS. So HIV/AIDS city is created. Now basically the group who has given the punishment basically, they basically keeps on watching basically how who are basically giving the investment to the HIV/AIDS, because this is a punishment basically. So who is basically helping that particular person basically? And HIV/AIDS means insult basically, you can say that also, you can say that somebody has insulted that particular person basically. So they basically keeps on watching basically who is doing the investment basically in HIV/AIDS city basically. Who is doing investment basically in this basically government, the Supreme Court basically uses government basically, government say that basically, yes basically these groups are doing the investment basically, these all are the groups basically. So Supreme Court and High Court basically gives the information to the girls basically who basically say that basically this person is supposed to get punishment, and punishment basically is AIDS basically. So like this here basically two team basically came into picture. One is the Indian girls basically who told the Indian girls group basically, in this basically lots of American girls are also basically with Indian girls. So they say that basically see basically we have given punishment to him. In this basically are you supporting this AIDS group basically? Then they told that no basically we are not supporting. We are with Indian girls basically. We are with Indian girls. So like this basically they say that. So that is basically different thing. That basically we are discussing. Here basically the thing is management side basically. Here is the AIDS person basically gets different data only basically. AIDS data are HIV/AIDS data. HIV/AIDS datas are totally different. Totally different means what actually? One of the person basically asked the question. I will take simple example basically, that will be clear. Example is example is what? This is the example. The example is one person, normal person, basically who don't have any disease, he basically eats vegetables, any vegetable. Assume that basically he eats potato, and the AIDS person eats potato. So which type of energy basically both going to get? One person basically is going to get the normal normal whatever data basically they are getting, but the another person who is having the AIDS basically, he basically gets the antibiotic also basically in little bit higher level basically. His antibiotic in the body basically gets too much. So AIDS person basically can't stay in India basically. They basically have to leave India if the person basically is very high profile person basically. He basically can't stay in India because the medicine basically gets, so sorry, the energy they gets basically, they are basically in very high power basically. Even basically sometimes his brain basically gets damaged, his body parts gets damaged because it's very high profile medicine basically they get. If they are getting this type of high profile medicine, then only basically he can survive basically in world, because his body basically keeps on going damage, keeps on going damage. At one time basically the medicine will also basically not get effect. Why? Because they are giving lots of medicine, dose basically is getting increase of medicine. Medicine dose basically is getting increase. So is, yeah, as the very, because on last day of world basically everything is going to calculate, that's why basically. So everybody have to be very ready basically on last day of world. So one of the person told that the dose of the medicine basically keeps on increasing, keeps on increase. They basically keeps on increase the medicine basically of the dose basically. In this basically one of the person told that this basically the team basically doesn't medical team basically don't medical team basically can't do this basically, so they basically give the data to the god group basically, because god group has given the punishment. This is actually one punishment basically, and one of the person told that this is punishment of Sri Krishna god basically, and this disease is of Sri Krishna god basically. So he told that basically Sri Krishna God basically gives the data basically, and they basically gives the medicine. Because whatever things basically is going to eaten basically, he have to take the antibiotic, that also very high power antibiotic. In this basically he can start his next generation. But few people says that Indian girls are up to that level basically, they basically do the nasbandi also basically, because they think up to future level basically. That future is basically that also we are going to. What is that future basically? Future says that basically one person basically got AIDS, that basically was done on the base of the Indian girls, and the Indian girls basically told that basically this person basically if in future basically if he will know that basically he basically got the AIDS from the Indian girls basically, so he might create a problem to Indian girls basically in future basically. This everything is done basically after that only basically I'm telling. So he basically, it might possible that in future basically the Indian girls basically might get problem basically. So Indian girls basically might get problem. So do you know what they have done basically? They have done is nasbandi also basically, so that the future also basically has ended. So government also thought that basically that is also good for us basically. We basically got some less burden basically. That is Indian government. Without Indian government, this is not possible basically. So the Indian government say that basically we have not done that. That is Supreme Court and High Court has done this basically. They have given the permission. So they are basically still sitting as Delhi, and they are so government are still sitting at Parliament House basically. After this everything basically watching the video also basically. So one of the person told that like these things are basically connected. So one of the person told that high antibiotic basically disease are given. So Indian girls are like this basically. Whether you believe or not believe, the Indian girls are like this only basically. And it's a union of Indian girls. So all Indian girls are like this only basically. They finish the future only basically of that particular person. So they told that basically we have finished the future. Now basically he can't create problem to us.